Hey friendo, Steve here. Welcome back to the channel. So AEW Dynasty is happening this weekend. We're going to be doing the live watch along as always over at the Going In Raw channels on Twitch and on YouTube. It's been a little while since I've talked about AEW sort of in general here at WrestleJuice. The last video I did about AEW was simply looking at the internet reaction to the all-in footage between CM Punk and Jack Perry. And that was broadcast on Dynamite. And mainly that was done for comedy effect because the memes were so good. But otherwise, like, I talk about it when people ask me about it on the WrestleJuice channel. But lately I've noticed that one of the main questions that I get asked at WrestleJuice and even over at the Going In Raw channel is, what can AEW do to be cool again or to get back on track? Or I guess maybe the general sentiment is, what can they do to turn around the fan perception that they are WCW 2000? AEW is one of the most divisive topics in pro wrestling, at least if you're to go on Twitter and take a look at it. I don't know, how exactly, I don't know how much the internet wrestling community is real life. I tend to think that, especially with AEW, there's plenty of honest discourse about AEW. There's a ton of disingenuous, dishonest discourse about it as well. And it's interesting to me to see just how passionate anti-AEW Twitter accounts can be. It's a little bit bizarre. To me, a lot of the criticism comes off as disingenuous, but AEW is at an interesting point right now where they're almost kind of towards the beginning of like a rebuilding era. It's been 5 years since the company was started, and they've already been through several phases, and it's going to be interesting to see where they land in the next 3 years. I know at some point soon we should be hearing about AEW's future as it pertains to television rights. I know it's kind of a boring topic, but it's sort of a big deal with AEW, given that they are right now in this exclusive negotiating window with WBD to try to get renewed for their current programming on TNT and TBS. The idea being, if they score a deal that, gives them, like a several 20, 30, 40% bump in their revenue, they'll be a profitable company. Although I'll be honest with you, given how much money the Khan family has, Tony Khan could literally run this company for like the rest of his life at a loss and probably be still fine. The question is, how many people are going to be watching the product if it doesn't land on a decent cable network like TBS or TNT, if they decide, hey, you know what, he's asking for too much and we don't want to put him on the Max streaming service. When I say him, I mean Tony Khan, of course. So it sort of begs the question, like, how does AEW turn fan perception around? A really good TV deal, will that shut some people up? Will that, indicate to people, oh, there is confidence in this product there at the cable networks? So maybe all is not doom and gloom. I don't think the company is close to going under. I don't think the company is close to shutting down or failing or whatever. I think it's a business that Tony Khan started, and it's going through some growing pains. But the question is, are they going to be able to navigate out of those growing pains now that they're entering into this new phase? When I say growing pains, I mean growing from what they have been in the past to what they are now. Let's face it, when AEW started back in 2019, it was a certain thing. At a certain point around 2021, it sort of turned into a different thing. Now in the post CM Punk era, it's sort of figuring out what exactly it is and if they'll be able to sustain that thing going forward for the next couple years, at least, when they have to change things up again. That happens in wrestling. I mean, take a look at Hulk Hogan in WWF. His run lasted from like 85, really, from WrestleMania 1. I mean, I know it predated that, 84 or whatever. So like 84 until like 1990, when the Ultimate Warrior became a thing. They tried that out. A couple years of, okay, we'll still stick with Hogan, but then we got to transfer over into like the New Generation era. That didn't really work, and then it exploded with the Attitude Era. So every couple of years, you really got to change things up. You got to keep things fresh. And it seems like when AEW started, it was very much the elite show. Cody had his corner of AEW. The Young Bucks had their corner of AEW. You had Kenny Omega in there. And Tony Khan seemed to be learning, I think, how to run a weekly wrestling program. And once that happened, and he was able to get his hands on some high-profile former WWE talent like Daniel Bryan, Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, Adam Cole, then it really shifted into the Tony Khan show. And for a spell, that really worked until it didn't. And his tendencies started to come to light in terms of how is Tony Khan booking this creative when it comes to week-to-week television. And not only is it week-to-week television, it's a lot more week-to-week television. It was in 2021 that Rampage started. And then like a year or two after that, I think when CM Punk came back, it was last year, I guess, that Collision started, adding another 2 hours to his programming. And so some of the more experimental stuff that we saw in the early days of AEW, for example, the MJF Chris Jericho musical number, that stuff sort of stopped happening. And instead, we got what more closely resembles a big budget version of Ring of Honor 2002, where it was just like long, really good Dave Meltzer style matches with the thinnest amount of story behind them. And now we're sort of entering in this new period where the focus on the new signings for AEW is sort of the thing. But there is still a tendency for Tony Khan to focus maybe a little bit too much on the fan perception from the internet. I'll give you an example. Obviously, the biggest thing in the build for this Young Bucks FTR match has been the release of the CM Punk Jack Perry fight footage from All In. Now, in my opinion, releasing that footage sort of took away from what actually could have been kind of an interesting story for Jack Perry's return, for the Young Bucks and FTR's feud. I thought that using the All-In situation as an excuse for why they lost to FTR, that's not really like a terrible motivation. That's not a terrible story beat. Shoehorning the footage in to the story the way they did as a short-term ratings pop to try to embarrass or call CM Punk a liar, that is where the perception took over that, hey, you did this simply for those reasons, not to advance a story. You sort of concocted the thinnest story reason there. There was a way they could have, used that situation to add heat to the match, but instead it just sort of backfired and added more vitriol, more fuel to the fire that is the internet's perception of AEW. It also doesn't help that WWE is doing wildly successful right now, both from a creative and business standpoint, and you know how tribalism works. So anyways, getting back to the question of now that we're entering into Dynasty, now when you take a look at this pay-per-view card, the actual matches on the card are really impressive. I actually expect there to be quite a few match of the year candidates tomorrow at Dynasty. But when you take a look at the actual breakdown, maybe it can inform us as to what AEW could be doing better to turn around fan perception. The main thing that sticks out when looking at the actual card is the number of matches that don't really have much of a story behind them. I'm looking at the predictions form right here that I'm about to fill out for you guys live on camera. And I'm looking at the first thing that I see right here on the predictions form is Hook versus Chris Jericho. At the very least, Chris Jericho is trying to turn the story of the perception of Chris Jericho that he's a momentum vampire, that he takes young talent and sucks their momentum away and kind of buries them in the Chris Jericho vortex as he's now trademarked. And he's using that for a story. I don't know that that's the right way to go, because it kind of just makes people think that, hey, you're doing it again. Why wouldn't Chris Jericho simply try to divorce that perception away from him and work with a more established talent? I don't know who, maybe a Malachi Black. I know they're doing something else, but I'm just throwing out a name. A talent that isn't considered an up-and-coming talent that he would be, quote-unquote, burying or stealing their momentum. leaning into the internet perception of a character or the company is sort of AEW in a way shooting themselves in the foot. Why are you lending credence to this perception out there by leaning into the story, if that makes sense? So otherwise, looking up and down, but at least, I will say this, at least there is an attempt there at a story with Hook and Chris Jericho. Taking a look at some of these other matches, though, the Bang Bang Gang and the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn, they're going to be in the kickoff show because this feud has zero heat. I don't know. I'm really legitimately curious, like, what happened with the creative of this? Why anybody thought it was a good idea to put the Bang Bang Gang and the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn into a faction together. The motivation provided by the characters involved in the story seemed to not make any sense whatsoever. And now they're just sort of saying, you know what, this is not going to work. Let's just sort of get rid of all this right here. And it's a shame because the Acclaimed at one time were the most popular act in AEW. And Jay White was a huge signing for AEW. And here he is in that kickoff show. That's not a good look for him, nor is it a good look for AEW. That is, to me, bizarre. How do you go from like main eventing against MJF and then 4 months later or whatever it is? I guess it's more than 4 months later, ending up here in the kickoff show. Other matches involved. We got Trent Beretta versus Matt Sydal. I think that's in the kickoff show as well. And that's, again, kind of just like a Dynamite match or even like a Rampage match that lands on pay-per-view. I like Trent Beretta. I think Matt Sydal is a good hand, but like, I get it. Trent Beretta is a bad guy. Like, do we need this match right here on a pay-per-view Sunday? Orange Cassidy and Shibata versus Shane Taylor and Lee Moriarty. Again, this is the kind of thing that I feel doesn't really need to be on pay-per-view. Should be a really good match, but like, why are we getting this match at pay-per-view? Another one, trios match. Adam Copeland, Eddie Kingston, and Mark Briscoe versus House of Black. Shouldn't this just be like an Edge versus Malachi Black match? Shouldn't this just be like a hot singles feud between these two guys? I feel like this match should have been like on Collision to motivate a singles title match with Malachi Black and Edge. Maybe that's going to be the match at Double or Nothing, and maybe they're viewing that as like, oh, it's one of our big shows, so that's where we're going to have that singles match. But again, this thrown together trios of Edge, Eddie Kingston, and Mark Briscoe versus House of Black, especially after Eddie Kingston and Mark Briscoe just had a Ring of Honor title match where Mark Briscoe took Eddie Kingston's title away from him. I don't know why this is here. Like, it's a pay-per-view match. This kind of should be on Collision. Will Ospreay versus Bryan Danielson. This is absolutely 1,000% a pay-per-view match with a pay-per-view level build. And I don't even care that it's like the thinnest of story motivations. Who's the best wrestler? Because they both are considered the best wrestler on the planet or within the top 3. So this is a perfectly normal, awesome match to have on pay-per-view, and they've had a really good build leading up to it. This is an A-grade build right here, and this is going to be a killer match. TBS Championship match, Willow Nightingale versus Julia Hart. You know, I have no idea how this is going to play out. They have had a story. It involves Mercedes Moné as well. So at least there has been a really strong attempt here to make a story. I'm really confused about how they're going to let this play out, but whatever. They've actually done a pretty good job with the story. Okada versus Pac. It's going to be a fantastic match. Not really sure what the story's about here, though. Like, Pac just sort of showed up. Then he was, like, attacked, I think. I don't know. It was, again, the thinnest of motivations just to get this really good match, because I think it's really going to be good. International Championship, Roger Strong versus Kyle O'Reilly. This one's personally, it's like disappointing. I love both these guys. I think they're great. I loved them in the Undisputed Era. Again, in this situation, it feels like there were several story beats missing. Kingdom would come out, celebrate with Kyle O'Reilly, even though he kind of wanted nothing to do with him, but he was cool with him because he was like, hey, we're still friends. I just don't want to roll with you guys. And then when he does roll with them, they just turn on him because he expresses some concern for a guy that they were beating up. Again, just super thin motivation to get to a match that will probably be really, really good, but the story itself really didn't make sense. And in order for this for fans to truly get invested in a match the way you want them to be invested, invest in those story beats. We need the rest of those story beats to fill it in to get some real heat behind these matches so that we're emotionally invested in these matches. A couple more matches on the card, but it sort of follows the same template. I mean, Swerve versus Samoa Joe, that's going to be a killer match. They've been setting this up for months now, and the build has been great. I love both these guys. I think Swerve's going to be a new world champion. Toni Storm versus Thunder Rosa. Thunder Rosa won a match, but really her beef seems to be more with Deonna Purrazzo than it is with Toni Storm. They're just sort of like smearing each other's faces with makeup and face paint and stuff. And then Young Bucks versus FTR, which I'll always watch that match. That's always going to be a good one. And they did a whole tournament for it. So cool. Right on. Fine. So I think that's sort of the thing about AEW. I know a lot of people, there's plenty of people out there who are like, you know what? All I care about is match. All I care about is the Dave Meltzer style match. I just want to see 5-star matches on my television. The problem is weekly wrestling television. If you want to grow your audience, you got to not assume everybody is clued into internet drama. If I was not on Twitter and I was just like, hey, I'm an Edge fan, I'm an AEW fan, I'm going to take a look at this, and I'm not on Twitter all the time, I'm not going to know or understand why Edge is out there giving like a rah-rah speech on Dynamite. I'm not. I'm going to be like, why is this guy, why is he not talking about what's happening in his story right now? Similarly, if I tune into Dynamite, I'm not sure I'm going to really understand why they're showing awkward backstage footage of CM Punk from 8 months ago. Might be mildly interesting, but for me to have to run to my phone and be like, okay, what's this drama all about? I don't know. It just doesn't seem like the best way to build stories. And I think that's been my problem with AEW for a little while now. Or when I say problem, I mean why it's hard to fully invest in what they're doing is because with 5 hours of weekly television programming, their stories shouldn't be this thin. And I feel like if they gave the same attention to detail as they have with like Swerve and Samoa Joe to all of the matches that are being built for their pay-per-view, then I feel like that fan perception would turn around pretty quickly because we're invested in the matches. That's what we're paying attention to, not Tony Khan's tweets. So, anyways, if you want to know how I think AEW can turn things around when it comes to like fan perception or being cool again, I honestly think it's that. And I think everything else will come with that. All the rewards that you would expect, better attendance, growth in TV ratings, a new TV deal. They still have some really good stuff going on there. I mean, hell, the last pay-per-view, Revolution, was like the 3rd highest pay-per-view buys that they've ever done in company history. So they have some momentum. Granted, I know it was Sting's retirement match, and that's going to be a big deal. But they do have some momentum. They've got a killer roster. They've got some good creative minds over there. It's just they need to utilize those creative minds. Maybe just tell a couple more stories or maybe add a lot more details, a lot more meat to the stories that they're telling. A feud is not a story. There is a difference there. There's a lot of talking for you. Discuss amongst yourselves. Time to get into some predictions here because I don't even know really where to go from there. Let's see here. I think it's this one. Yeah, it is this one. All right. Anyways, this is for the Big Blue Predictions Challenge. You guys know how it works. I've done this here on the channel before. I already filled out this stuff, but like in basically just sort of a test way because there were some issues with the predictions form at first, but those all got fixed. So now I'm going to do it for real. Let's see here. And if you want like my full sort of reasoning, my predictions were, I hashed this out with Larson. We dropped that a couple days ago at the Friendo Club Wrestling channel. So yeah, check it out there. Anyways, FTW title, Hook versus Chris Jericho. I feel like Chris Jericho is going to win this FTW title. They're telling a story right now where Chris Jericho, seemingly self-aware of his reputation of a guy that like sort of buries young talent, is now the guy who's trying to bury young talent on television. And I feel like he's got to do that to a degree and take that title off Hook. I feel like him shoving Taz was sort of indicative to me that, okay, I think they're going to do this. He'll probably use some really underhanded tactics. Granted, it's an FTW title match, which means that he can't, like a low blow is legal. Like all cheating is legal in this match, which I think will give him the advantage because he's Chris Jericho. Kind of makes sense. He is a veteran and he does know every trick in the book. You'd think that he should beat Hook in this match. Hook beat him in the first one. Hook will take the title back off him. But I think Chris Jericho is going to win this and go on a bit of a run with the FTW title. It just sort of makes sense. It gets him that bad guy heat that I think they're going to want to get him now. Six-man champion versus trios, winner takes all. This is going down in the kickoff show. And it's the Bang Bang Gang versus the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn. I get the feeling, and this is, winner take all. I get the feeling that they're going to do something here with with the Acclaimed that's going to break them up. Which I don't know if that's the best idea in the world, but I think it's going to happen. I don't know if AEW has what it takes to really capitalize off of Caster and Bowens as like singles guys, but I think that regardless, Bang Bang Gang is going to win this. Basically because the Acclaim's going to shoot themselves in the foot. Singles match, Trent Beretta versus Matt Sydal. I didn't even know about this match until I saw it here on the predictions card. I got Trent Beretta because he's going to be in a feud with Orange Cassidy. Matt Sydal's perpetual loser. I'll probably put all my confidence points on this match. Tag team match, Orange Cassidy and Shibata versus Shane Taylor Productions, Enterprises. Shane Taylor and Lee Moriarty. Orange Cassidy wins most matches he's in. Except he actually did beat Shane Taylor just then. Shibata could eat the pin, but I don't think they're going to have him eat him 2 pins in a row. So I got Orange Cassidy and Shibata winning this. Again, I think this is in the pre-show, I think. Trios match. Adam Copeland, Eddie Kingston, Mark Briscoe versus House of Black. I'm going to have low confidence points on this one because I feel like House of Black should win this and set up a singles feud with Malachi and Adam Copeland. But they also don't really give Malachi a lot of singles matches, so maybe that's not the case. In any event, I feel like Eddie Kingston's probably going to eat the pin here. House of Black kind of needs this win. Like, they're a legit trios. They've been trios champions. They should have an advantage here, being that they work together a lot. So they should win this, but I don't know. Maybe they'll have the good guys win. Singles match, Will Ospreay versus Danielson. Danielson is firmly in I'm putting people over mode. They could do like a series of matches here where Danielson wins the first one, Ospreay wins the second one. But I get the feeling that Ospreay is going to win this. This could be match of the year right here. I think they're going to kill it with this match. Willow Nightingale versus Julia Hart. This is a weird one. So like I feel like they're going to get Willow Mercedes Moné has the winner of this match at Double or Nothing. You would think, because there's also a report that Julia Hart's injured right now. You would think that Willow would win this given the go-home math on the last episode of Dynamite. But are they going to give Willow like a 5-week title run with the TBS title? Because Mercedes not going to lose her first match back. I don't know about this one. They might do something really weird here. Because if Julia Hart can't really wrestle, man, yeah, I'm going to go really low confidence points on this one. I get the feeling Julia Hart's going to win this. I don't know. Willow, geez, that's a tough one. This is a really tough one. I'll just go with Willow for now, and then they'll figure it out. This is an easy one for the Continental Championship. Kazuchika Okada. It's going to beat Pac. This is also going to be maybe match of the year stuff. International Championship. I think Roderick Strong is going to keep his title. Kyle O'Reilly can lose this because of interference due to what's their faces, the Kingdom. Although it's a Continental Champion. No, that's an International Championship match. It's the Continental one that people can't come to ringside. Tag team titles, ladder match. The Young Bucks are totally going to beat FTR thanks to Jack Perry. This is telegraphed all over. Women's World Championship, Toni Storm versus Thunder Rosa. Thunder Rosa got the best of Toni Storm on Dynamite, unless something changes tonight on Collision/Rampage. I think that's still going to be the case. But yeah, Toni Storm, she's going to win this. She's doing good work right now. I think Tony really likes her. Tony Khan, that is. AEW World Championship, Swerve Strickland is going to become our new AEW World Champion. And hopefully it'll sort of trickle down, man. Hopefully Swerve winning this will enter into a new era with AEW, and that'll sort of trickle down to the rest of the card. But we'll see. All right, time for confidence points. The one I am most confident in has got to be... I'll be honest with you. It's got to be Beretta versus Sydal, but I hate putting that much confidence in the kickoff show. So I'm going to go with the Continental match with I'm going to do this here. Continental Championship. So this right here is going to get all my confidence points. Tag team titles are up next. Going to be a good night for Okada and Young Bucks, I think. The world title I'm going to give next because I totally think that's going to happen. Ospreay versus Bryan. I can do that one with 8 confidence points. The TBS title, I'm just going to do this now. The TBS title, I am so unsure of. If Julia Hart is injured, I don't know what they're going to do in this match. She'll probably end up retaining in the hopes that maybe she'll be better in 5 weeks. And then she'll lose to Mercedes. But I feel like Willow versus Mercedes is a really good match to have. Let's see here. The other one that I'm really undecided on is House of Black, that match. I don't know about that one. I'll give Beretta and Seidel the 7 points here. This one here, the Orange Cassidy Shibata match, I think that's good at 5 points probably. Cope Open Trios match, that one I'm really confused about too. What has 3? Does anything have 3 so far? No. Okay, so I'll give this one 3 because I think that's going to go. I think that's going to go to those guys. I'm pretty sure Chris Jericho's going to win this, but I'll give that 4 confidence points. And then I guess the international title, I will give 6 points, and then Orange Cassidy Shibata 5 points. I kind of want to give, that's right. That's right. International title, yeah, okay. So let's see here. The 6-man titles, that's not the House of Black match. Oh, this one right here, yeah. I'll give this one actually more. I'll switch this here because I'm not sure about that Jericho match. So the 6-man titles, I feel like are going to go to the Bang Bang Gang. That's going to happen. So I got 4 confidence points there. Trent Beretta's totally going to beat Matt Sydal. That's a no-brainer. 7 confidence points there. You know what I'll do, actually? Hold on a second. Where's that Ospreay? Here we go. We're going to switch these here. Ospreay, Daniel Bryan, I'll give 7 confidence points. And then Beretta Seidel, 8 confidence points. Come on. Of course he's going to beat Matt Sydal. Everybody beats Matt Sydal. It's like a given. Let's see here. World title, unless Orange Cassidy comes out and interferes. But I don't know if that's going to happen. World title match, 9 confidence points. Because I think that's going to... Yeah, okay. So I'm good with my confidence points here. Next. Let's see here. Who eats the pin? Eddie Kingston's going to be eating the pin in this match. How does Mercedes Moné play into the TBS title match? I think she just comes out after the match. Does Scapegoat Jack Perry return to AEW? Yes, he does, in order to fuck with the FTR. Who will hit a GTS first? I think they're going to leave that shit alone. Now, Jack Perry's going to hit one when he interferes. What theme song does Daniel Bryan enter to? Born for Greatness. Because I like that one. And how long does Bryan Ospreay last? I've got 27 minutes. It's going to be a long-ass match. That's what I think. Anyways, I'm going to submit this now. My response has been recorded. Let me know what you guys think about these predictions in the comments below. And let me know what you think about my huge AEW rant in the comments below. I know I gave you guys a lot to chew on. I don't even know what to think about it all. It's a weird situation. Internet's weird. AEW's weird. But I feel like this pay-per-view is going to be a hell of a pay-per-view. You should join us for the watch-along. Of course, it's tomorrow. We're not watching the pre-show. I'll be honest with you. Like, part of the reason why we used to bitch about AEW pay-per-views being long is because we would watch the pre-show too. And we're old. We don't have a lot of energy anymore. Trying to engage with people and watch a kickoff show and watch the full show and do a review afterwards. Yeah, I'm going to be grumpy. Not anymore, though. Now we just watch the main show. So be sure to join us for that. It's over at the Other Stuff Going in Raw channel, youtube.com/Steven Larson, twitch.tv/Steven Larson. Hey, if you want to join in on this Big Blue Predictions Challenge, it's a lot of fun. It helps support me and Larson over there at Going in Raw. You go to youtube.com/Steven Larson, click join to become a channel member over there, or you can go to patreon.com/Steven Larson. We also have bonus episodes and access to the question threads, all that kind of stuff. So if you want to kick in a couple bucks every month and you get to enjoy this Big Blue Predictions Challenge, it's a lot of fun. You know, we keep tabs on it during the show. People go up, people go down. It's a lot of fun. Anyways, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you guys around.